I thank Dr. Han for his statement. The next speaker is a very good and old friend from Japan. Ben Makihara, as we all call him, is one of Japan's most respected elder statesmen. After graduating from Harvard University, he joined Mitsubishi Corporation and spent his life with that company. He slowly worked his way up the corporate ladder until he was appointed chairman of the company. But Ben Makihara is not only a great corporate leader of Japan, he's a globalist and someone widely respected outside Japan. He was a champion of the Trilateral Commission. He has worked for many decades to promote educational and cultural exchange between Japan and the United States. And when I was staying in America, I often worked with him through the Asia Society in promoting friendship and mutual understanding between Asians and Americans. I hope, Ben, you don't mind my making one provocative remark. I want to say this afternoon that Japan's journey of opening up to the world is a journey which has not been completed. There are a few more steps to take for Japan to embrace the world. And Japan therefore needs globalists like Ben Makihara. Makihara-san has requested our permission to speak from the chair instead of the lectern, and I think you will all understand that because he has some problems standing up for long, that we will welcome his speaking to us from his seat.
Thank you very much, Tommy, for your very kind introduction. And I must apologize to the people here that I will speak from my seat. When I first accepted this invitation, I accepted without too much thought. But then I realized that diaspora was a word that I didn't know. In fact, I would say that 99% of the English-speaking, quite good English-speaking Japanese people wouldn't know. So I looked it up in the dictionary, and it said it's about the Jewish enclave who are still tied to their homeland. So again, I was rather puzzled. But then on top of that, when we talk about South Asia, in the Japanese mind again, the individual countries are quite clear, but when one talks about South Asia, the concept is very vague. If it's Southeast Asia, Northern Asia, people know exactly where it is, what the problem is. But South Asia, it's a very vast area, but it is not very clear. So a few days ago, I wondered whether I should have accepted, and then I had my leg accident, so I thought maybe I can excuse myself. The typhoon is coming, which unfortunately slowed down, so I had to come. So with your permission and indulgence, what I would like to do is first of all talk about the recent Japanese typhoon, sort of earthquake disaster. And before doing that, I would like to express my gratitude towards the people of Singapore for your very magnanimous and prompt aid which was extended to my country. Now, very briefly speaking, the situation in Japan after this historical earthquake, we have people dead and missing of 24,000. We have property damage of 25 trillion yen, which is about 5% of our GDP. Now, the earthquake could have been anticipated because Japan is built in that kind of situation. But then came the tidal waves, which again might have been anticipated, but not in the strength as it came, 10 meters high, and in some places reaching 40 meters high, which was really incredible. But what was really not anticipated was the nuclear damage. The reduction of electric supply will continue to affect Japan over the next 2 decades as it is, and it will certainly affect the competitiveness of Japanese manufacturing. But this in turn will encourage Japanese manufacturers to move abroad. In fact, in a very recent survey, 40% of Japanese businessmen replied that they were considering relocating some of their facilities abroad. Another thing which happened was, with these earthquakes, tidal waves, this and that, our supply chain was destroyed. And although it has now recovered, we found out that it had global repercussions, which showed that Japanese, for example, tool manufacturers, paint manufacturers, had strong demand or essential demand abroad. Now we have recovered from that, at least mostly recovered. But for example, manufacturing systems like JIT, just-in-time delivery, has to be reviewed, and again, this will create a motive for Japan to move away. Now, the center of gravity of economic activity, I think, is shifting from the west to east, perhaps with the passing of Pax America, perhaps, and there are shifts occurring in the region, and one such shift is being caused by the Japanese earthquake, tidal waves, etc. Now, against this background, as far as our relationship with South Asia is concerned, there is definite cultural affinity. It was Kipling that famously said that east is east and west is west, and never the twain shall meet. But that was an exaggeration. South Asia, Japan, and all of Asia, we share many backgrounds. For example, the Buddhist tradition, Confucian tradition, family tradition, so forth and so on. And another recent background which we shared was that of resistance or being affected by colonialism. And while I am the first to agree that there's little to defend in Japanese doings in World War II, in a perverse way, by shaking the foundations of colonial rule, I think Japan accelerated the independence movement in the various countries. Of interest in this line of thought is the career of Chandra Bose, whose portrait, I haven't seen this, but whose portrait I was told is displayed in the Indian Parliament. Bose was a leader of the Indian independence movement by use of force, in contrast to, for example, Mr. Gandhi and others. And he split with Gandhi and moved his base to Germany. And although he eventually died, quite disillusioned by both Germany and Japan, undoubtedly he was drawn to those who were opposed to colonialism as it existed then. Now, what is the current relationship? As mentioned, over the past several decades, the engine of global economy has shifted from west to east. And of interest, again, is Kipling's poem. In his later part, he says, "But there is neither east nor west, border nor breed nor birth, when two strong men stand face to face, though they come from the ends of the earth." And we are now in a globalized, increasingly globalized economy, and the growing strength of the East is apparent in the strong GDP growth in the area. For example, in 2010, China grew by 10.3%, India by 10.4% versus the United States 2.9% and Europe 1.8%.